Hey there. Ever wonder why we spend about a third of our lives snoozing? It's wild, right? Every single night we, along with pretty much every other living thing, dive into this totally different state, sleep. It's not just some chill-out time, it's a must-do for our bodies and brains, super important for staying healthy, thinking straight, and keeping our emotions in check. And tucked right inside all that sleep is something even more mind-blowing, dreaming. For ages, folks thought dreams were like secret messages or prophecies. But guess what? Science is finally pulling back the curtain, showing us what's really going on. You see, on the surface, sleep might look like we're just shutting down, totally inactive. Kind of vulnerable, right? Less aware, less able to protect ourselves, and seemingly not doing much. So why on earth would evolution keep something so disadvantageous around for basically every creature, from tiny bugs to big mammals? Well, the fact that sleep is so persistent and necessary screams that it's doing something super vital. Something so important that any risks are totally worth it. Modern science has started unraveling these mysteries, showing us that sleep isn't just an off switch. Nope, it's an incredibly active and complex process, absolutely key to how we feel, think, and live. And then there are dreams. Oh, dreams! They're those vivid, often wacky, sometimes just plain weird, but always super personal stories that play out in our heads while we're out cold. They're like quick peeks into an inner world where logic often takes a vacation, and reality gets a unique twist. For thousands of years, people saw dreams as divine messages, hints about the future, echoes of the past, or even windows into our deepest selves. While science isn't really into the mystical stuff, our human fascination with dreams has never quit. That's why we're now seeing some serious scientific digging into them. This book is all about bridging that gap, showing you what modern science, with all its cool tools, has figured out about dreaming. But before we jump into how dreams are made in our brains, what they're for, or those wild altered dream states, we've got to get a good handle on the basic playground where dreams happen, sleep itself. So this first chapter will walk you through how sleep is built, its different stages, and what's going on in our bodies and brains during each one. We'll also chat about why evolution made sleep so essential for everyone, and quickly look at how people used to think about dreams before science stepped in. Getting this foundation down is the first big step to really understand the amazing and often puzzling world of dreams. To truly get dreams, you first need to get how sleep works. It's not just one big, quiet block of time. Nope. Sleep is a super organized back and forth process with clear stages, each with its own special body and brain signs. The real scientific adventure into sleep and dreams kicked off in the mid-1900s with cool tech like polysomnography, PSG. PSG is the go-to way to measure sleep objectively. It records a bunch of stuff all night long, giving us a full picture of how someone's sleeping. Here's what it usually checks. Electroencephalography, EEG, where electrodes on your head measure your brain's electrical chatter, different patterns of brain waves, how fast and big they are, tell us what sleep stage you're in. Then there's electroencephalography, EOG, with electrodes near your eyes tracking eye movements, which is super important for spotting rapid eye movement REM sleep. And electroencephalography, EMG, with electrodes on your muscles, usually chin and legs, measuring muscle activity. Your muscle tone changes a lot during sleep, especially that deep muscle stillness in REM sleep. PSG often adds sensors for heart rate, ECG, breathing, oxygen levels, and leg movements too. It's a full body checkup for your sleep. By looking at all these patterns, sleep scientists can figure out exactly what sleep stage you're in, which helps a ton with research. Before we drift off, let's just quickly check in with being awake. When you're awake and alert, your brain usually shows beta waves, fast and small, like your brain's busy. If you relax and close your eyes but stay awake, your brain shifts to alpha waves, bigger and more chill. Think of alpha waves as your brain just idling. Your eyes move when you want them to, and your muscles are active. Now let's talk about non-REM, NREM sleep, or quiet sleep. It has 3 distinct stages, each one deeper than the last. First up is NREM Stage 1, N1, the lightest sleep, just a quick step between being awake and truly asleep. It only lasts a few minutes. Your brain activity slows down, and those alpha waves get replaced by theta waves, slower and bigger. You might have some slow eye rolls, and your muscles are still pretty active, but maybe a little less so. Your breathing gets steadier, and your heart rate slows a bit. You're super easy to wake up from N1. If someone wakes you from N1, you might even say you weren't asleep at all. Or you might remember just a few fleeting thoughts or images, not a full-blown dream. This is also when you might get those sudden hypnic jerks like you're falling, or see weird stuff or hear voices as you're nodding off, hypnagogic hallucinations. It just shows how N1 is right on the edge of consciousness. Next is NREM stage 2. N2, a deeper sleep stage and usually makes up the biggest chunk of our night's sleep, often 45–55% for adults. Still lots of theta waves, but N2 has two super unique brainwave patterns. Sleep spindles, which are quick bursts of fast, rhythmic brain activity. Scientists think they're key for memory consolidation, like moving new memories into long-term storage, and also for sensory gating, blocking out outside noise so you can stay asleep. Then there are K-complexes, big dramatic brainwaves. They can pop up on their own or when something external happens like a sudden sound without fully waking you. They're believed to help protect your sleep from little disturbances and might also help with memory. Heart rate and breathing keep slowing down and getting more regular. Muscles relax even more and your eyes usually don't move. It's harder to wake someone from N2 than N1. You usually don't have vivid story-like dreams in N2 like you do in REM, but if you're woken up you might report sleep thoughts, less vivid, more like regular thinking or planning, not as emotional as REM dreams. Finally, there's NREM stage 3, N3, also called slow wave sleep, SWS, or deep sleep. This is the deepest and most refreshing sleep stage, and it's all about those big slow brain waves. This stage is defined by tons of delta waves, the slowest and biggest brain waves. This means your brain cells are really syncing up. This is where your body gets some serious rest. Heart rate, breathing, and brain activity are at their lowest. Muscles are super relaxed, though not totally paralyzed. It's really hard to wake someone from N3. If you do, they'll probably be super groggy and disoriented, sleep inertia. N3 sleep is crucial for physical repair. Your body releases growth hormone, which helps tissues heal and grow. Plus, your brain's glymphatic system, a waste-clearing system, kicks into high gear during N3, flushing out toxins that build up while you're awake. This is like a deep clean for your brain. N3 is also vital for declarative memory consolidation, remembering facts and events. Those slow delta waves seem to help new info move from short-term memory to long-term storage. You can dream in N3, but these dreams are usually less vivid, less like a story, and more fragmented or emotional than REM dreams. Sleepwalking, night terrors and sleep talking usually happen during N3 since it's so hard to wake up from. Now let's talk about rapid eye movement, REM sleep. This is probably the most fascinating sleep stage, mostly because it's where those vivid, story-like dreams usually happen. Scientists first spotted it in the 1950s when they noticed rapid eye movements along with unique brain activity. They call it paradoxical sleep, because even though your body is super relaxed and paralyzed, your brain is buzzing, almost like you're awake. Your brainwaves during REM look a lot like when you're awake or in N1, low voltage and mixed frequencies. It means your brain is super active all over. Yep, the name says it all. REM sleep is all about those quick, darting, rapid eye movements. They often look like you're scanning a scene, which makes some researchers wonder if you're looking around in your dream world. A key feature of REM is muscle atonia, meaning your voluntary muscles are almost completely paralyzed. This is a good thing. It stops you from acting out your dreams, keeping you safe. Only your breathing muscles, eye muscles, and inner ear muscles stay active. REM sleep can be a bit wild physiologically. Your breathing might get shallow and irregular, heart rate and blood pressure can jump around, and your body struggles to regulate its temperature. REM sleep is definitely the dream stage. If you wake someone up from REM, they'll report dreams about 80–90% of the time, and these dreams are usually longer, more detailed, and way more emotional than NREM dreams. Throughout the night, we cycle through these sleep stages in a pretty predictable way. A full sleep cycle usually takes about 90 to 110 minutes, and most adults go through 4 to 6 cycles a night. The usual path is wake, roan, N1, N2, roan N3, roan. After roan, you might briefly pop back to N2 or N1, or even wake up for a second before starting a new cycle. The first few cycles tend to have longer stretches of N3, deep sleep. Makes sense, right? Your body and brain have been awake the longest and need that deep rest. As the night goes on, you get less N3, and your REM sleep periods get longer and longer. Those early morning REM stretches can last for 30 to 40 minutes or even more. That's why you're most likely to remember your dreams if you wake up naturally in the morning. You're probably coming right out of a long REM period. This whole intricate dance between NREM and REM sleep just shows how complex sleep is. Dreaming isn't some random thing. It's a built-in part of this super organized biological process. Getting a handle on this sleep architecture is the first big step to unlocking the science behind our nightly dream adventures. The fact that almost every animal sleeps is a huge clue to how important it is. From tiny insects to fish, reptiles, birds, and mammals, nearly all creatures show some form of sleep. Basically, they slow down, don't react as much to the outside world, and get into a specific resting position. The crazy thing is, sleep makes an animal vulnerable, hello predators. So the fact that it's so common strongly suggests it gives them some seriously amazing benefits for survival. If sleep were just an optional extra, evolution probably would have ditched it for constant alertness. The very existence of sleep screams must-have. For ages, scientists and thinkers have scratched their heads asking, why do we sleep? While we don't have one single perfect answer yet, tons of research points to several strong ideas, all backed by growing evidence, suggesting sleep does a bunch of vital jobs. One of the oldest and most obvious ideas about sleep is that it's for getting back to normal, letting your body and brain fix themselves up after a long day. This theory says sleep is essential for repairing tissues, making new proteins, refilling energy tanks, and cleaning out all the waste that builds up when you're awake. When you're asleep, your metabolism, heart rate, breathing, and body temperature all generally drop. That saves a lot of energy. This could be a huge advantage, especially for animals that need a lot of energy or don't have much food around. Deep sleep, NREM3, is especially linked to releasing growth hormone, which is super important for fixing tissues, growing muscles, and regenerating cells. Your immune system also gets busy during this stage, making stuff to fight off infections. Here's a cool discovery. Scientists recently found the glymphatic system in the brain. It's like a brain-wide cleaning crew that gets super active during sleep. Unlike the body's regular lymphatic system, the brain's waste removal uses special cells, astrocytes, to help cerebrospinal fluid, CSF, flow through brain tissue, literally flushing out waste products like toxins and proteins, like amyloid beta, which is linked to Alzheimer's. This brainwash works way better during sleep, especially NREM sleep, when brain cells actually shrink a bit, making more room for the CSF to flow. This is a huge piece of the puzzle for understanding how sleep restores us at a cellular level. This is probably the strongest and most widely accepted idea today. Sleep is absolutely critical for brain plasticity, how your brain changes and adapts, learning and memory. Our brains are constantly soaking up new info and making new connections when we're awake. Sleep gives the brain a dedicated time to process, solidify, and put all that info in its proper place. Sleep, especially NREM2 with its spindles and K-complexes, and NREM3, those slow waves, is vital for making both declarative memories, facts and events, and procedural memories, skills and habits stick. During NREM sleep, new memories seem to replay, strengthening the connections tied to them, and moving them from temporary storage to more permanent spots in the brain. NREM sleep also helps with memory, especially for emotional stuff and complex knowledge. This cool idea from Giulio Tononi and Chiara Carelli, called the synaptic homeostasis hypothesis, SHY, suggests that when we're awake, the connections between our brain cells, synapses, get stronger from all the learning, but this costs energy and can make things a bit noisy. So sleep, according to SHY, is when the brain does some synaptic downscaling. It weakens less important connections while keeping the crucial ones. It's like defragging your computer, making it super efficient and ready to learn more the next day. Studies consistently show that getting enough sleep after learning something really helps you remember it better. Plus, sleep seems to help with flashes of insight and creative problem solving. Dreams, especially REM dreams, might even help connect different bits of info, leading to new ideas and solutions you wouldn't have thought of while awake. This theory, sometimes called the inactivity theory, suggests sleep evolved as a survival trick to keep animals still when it's risky or pointless to be active. For many animals, being out and about at certain times, like nocturnal animals during the day, means a higher chance of getting eaten. Sleep offers a safe, inactive period, letting them save energy and avoid danger. How long and when an animal sleeps often depends on how vulnerable it is. Big plant eaters, for example, who are always on predator alert, tend to sleep less than smaller, safer animals. Beyond just fixing cells, simply chilling out when food is scarce or the weather's bad, like super hot or cold, can be a huge plus. Sleep helps lower your metabolism, saving energy. If you want proof that sleep is vital, just look at what happens when we don't get enough. A constant lack of sleep, or even just one bad night, messes with us big time. You'll struggle to pay attention, concentrate, remember things, make decisions and solve problems. Your reaction time slows down, and you make more mistakes. You'll be more irritable, moody, anxious, and maybe even depressed. Your brain's emotion center, the amygdala, gets all hyper with sleep loss, while its connection to the part that helps you control emotions, prefrontal cortex, gets weaker. Your immune system gets weaker, and you're at higher risk for chronic stuff like obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and high blood pressure. Hormones that control appetite also get out of whack. Drowsiness is a huge factor in car crashes and workplace errors. It really shows how much sleep deprivation messes with performance and safety. So bottom line, sleep isn't just lying there doing nothing. It's an active, super important biological process that's absolutely fundamental for keeping us physically healthy, mentally sharp, emotionally stable, and, well, alive. Its presence across basically every creature on Earth just screams how indispensable it is. Understanding why sleep is so crucial is the perfect starting point for exploring the equally amazing but often more mysterious world of dreaming. Before modern brain science and those cool PSG machines, humans tried to figure out dreams using religion, philosophy, and old stories. For thousands of years, dreams weren't just random night thoughts. They were deep, often sacred, messages offering peeks into other worlds, divine wishes, or the deepest parts of our minds. Knowing how people used to see dreams really helps us appreciate the huge leap science has made. In many ancient cultures, dreams were considered direct messages from gods, spirits, or ancestors. They were super important for daily life, helping people make choices, predict the future, and even heal. In ancient Egypt, dreams were highly valued, seen as divine communication. Dream interpreters, often priests, had a lot of power. They even had dream books that explained symbols. People would go to sleep temples, hoping for divine guidance or healing dreams. In Mesopotamia, dreams were also seen as good or bad omens. Priests were consulted for interpretations, and rituals were done to stop bad dream prophecies. Old stories like the Epic of Gilgamesh show dreams as a big source of divine insight. In ancient Greece and Rome, dreams were a big deal too. People thought Asclepius, the god of medicine, healed through dreams in his temples. Philosophers like Plato saw dreams as a window into the soul. Aristotle, though, had a more modern idea, suggesting dreams were just echoes of waking life or body issues. Pretty smart for his time. Still, most people believed in prophetic dreams. Lots of biblical and religious traditions show dreams as ways for God to reveal things. In the Bible, Joseph and Daniel interpret dreams with huge consequences. In Islam, dreams are sorted into categories: true visions from God, whispers from evil, or just daily thoughts. Cultures all over the world often see dreams as links to the spirit world or guidance for everyday life. When the Enlightenment hit Europe, with its focus on reason and scientific observation, the mystical dream stuff started fading. Dreams were increasingly seen as products of the mind or body, not outside divine interventions. But without the right tools to study the brain during sleep, it was still mostly guesswork. Philosophers like René Descartes, even though dreams were vivid to him, questioned if they were real, using dreams to think about what's truly certain. Still, science wasn't quite ready to dive into the subjective world of dreams yet. The late 1800s and early 1900s brought a big change with psychoanalysis, especially Sigmund Freud's famous book, The Interpretation of Dreams. Fanatold, Freud said dreams were the royal road to the unconscious, basically hidden ways our repressed wishes come out. He talked about the manifest content, what you remember, and the latent content, the secret, unconscious meaning, which he thought you could unlock by interpreting symbols. Carl Jung, who was Freud's student but went his own way, came up with the collective unconscious and archetypes, suggesting dreams tap into universal symbols shared by everyone. Freud and Jung had a massive impact on culture, psychology, and therapy. They made dreams a serious topic for psychological study and showed how important they could be for understanding the human mind. But it's super important for a scientific book on dreaming to point out that their ideas, while influential, aren't really based on empirical science. Freud's and Jung's interpretations are subjective, hard to prove wrong, and aren't built on measurable brain activity or controlled experiments. Their work is part of psychology's history, but it's not the scientific understanding of dreaming we're exploring here. The real scientific journey into dreams began not with symbols, but with being able to objectively measure the sleeping brain. When REM sleep was discovered in the 1950s using those electrophysiological tools, that was the true beginning of the scientific study of dreaming. It moved dreams from philosophical guesses and psychoanalytic talks into the serious world of neuroscience and cognitive science. This shift let researchers ask not just what do dreams mean, but how are dreams actually made? What brain parts are involved? And what do they do for us, biologically speaking? One of the first hurdles in studying dreams scientifically is just defining what a dream even is. Unlike things you can touch or see, dreams are totally subjective and private, and they vanish super fast when you wake up. This makes them incredibly tricky to catch, measure, and analyze objectively. To move past old stories and mystical ideas, scientists needed clear definitions and ways to spot the dream state. The main problem with studying dreams is how personal they are. We can't just look at someone else's dream. We only know what they tell us, and that's not always perfect. Remembering dreams is notoriously bad. They often disappear minutes after waking. Plus, what counts as a dream can be different for everyone, and even for you from night to night. Is a quick image a dream? What about just a vague feeling? To get around these issues, sleep scientists use operational definitions, which basically define something by how you measure it. For dreams, this usually means awakening and immediate report. The most common way is to wake people up from specific sleep stages, identified by PSG, and immediately ask them what they were experiencing mentally. If their reports meet certain criteria, like being story-like or vivid, then boom, it's classified as a dream. Early on, when REM sleep was discovered, scientists noticed that if you woke people up from REM, they'd report vivid story-like dreams about 80–90% of the time. So the first definition was that dreams mainly happen in REM sleep. We now know dreams can happen in NREM sleep too, but REM dreams are still the most common and vivid ones studied in labs. It's important to tell the difference between actual dreams and other mental stuff that happens when we're asleep or awake. Daydreaming happens when you're awake, and it's basically your mind wandering off into thoughts, fantasies, or simulations. It's got some dreamlike qualities like being focused internally, but it doesn't have the big body changes of sleep or the often weird, illogical nature of night dreams. Hypnagogic and hypnopompic hallucinations are vivid, often bizarre, sensory experiences, seeing things, hearing sounds, feeling stuff, that happen right as you're falling asleep, hypnagogic, or waking up, hypnopompic. They're not full dreams, more like fragmented, sometimes unsettling, sensory flashes during those in-between states. As we talked about, mental activity can happen during NREM sleep, especially N2 and N3. These sleep thoughts, NREM mentation, aren't usually as vivid, story-like or emotional as REM dreams. They're more like regular waking thoughts, planning, replaying events, etc. But without the wild hallucinatory feel of REM dreams. While they're definitely mental activity during sleep, they're usually separated from what we typically call dreaming. Even though dreams are subjective, scientific studies of dream reports have found some common traits that define the dream state. Narrative quality. Often, dreams usually unfold like a story, with characters, places, and events, even if the story is totally disjointed or doesn't make sense. Sensory vividness. Dreams are typically packed with sensory details, mostly visual, but also sounds, touches, smells, and tastes. The visuals can be as real and immersive as waking life. Emotional content. Dreams are often super emotional, covering everything from pure joy to fear, anxiety, sadness, and anger. Emotions can be the whole point of the dream. Bizarreness and discontinuity. A big giveaway for many dreams is how much they stray from reality. Things can be illogical, characters can change, scenes can jump around, and impossible stuff can happen. This bizarreness is a huge area of scientific study. Lack of self-reflection insight, usually. During a normal dream, you rarely realize you're dreaming. You just accept the dream world as real, even when it's totally wacky. This is different from lucid dreaming, where you do know you're dreaming. And finally, amnesia upon waking. Dreams are notoriously hard to remember. Most are gone within minutes of waking up. This quick forgetting is a big challenge for dream research and is thought to be tied to the brain chemistry during REM sleep. The scientific way of looking at dreams is all about objective measurement and real data. While what people tell us about their dreams is important, scientists always look at it alongside physiological data from PSG, EEG, EOG, MG, and newer brain imaging tech like fMRI. This multifaceted approach lets researchers link subjective dream experiences with objective brain states, moving dream study from just stories and guesses into the serious world of neuroscience and cognitive science. This scientific language and method are the bedrock for truly understanding what science knows about dreaming. So to sum it all up, sleep isn't just one simple thing. It's a dynamic, cyclical process with distinct stages, each doing vital jobs for our bodies and brains. From light dozing to deep, restorative sleep, and the wild brain activity of REM, our nightly journey is a perfectly orchestrated biological show. The fact that sleep is everywhere in the animal kingdom just screams how much we need it. For physical recovery, saving energy, and perhaps most importantly, for making memories stick and keeping our brains flexible. And right there in this complex world, dreaming pops up as a built-in, often vivid and super personal experience. Now that we've got this basic understanding of sleep and why it's so crucial, we're ready to dive even deeper into how our brains actually cook up these nightly narratives. That's what's up next. Alright, so in our last chat we got cozy with sleep itself, right? We talked about how it's not just some quiet downtime, but a super busy, organized journey through different stages. And we even touched on why this whole sleep thing is so ridiculously important for pretty much every living creature out there. Now let's take an even deeper dive, shall we? We're going to peek behind the curtain and see what's really cooking inside your head when you're off in dreamland. This is where the magic and the science happens. The neuroscience of your dreaming brain. You know, for the longest time, dreams felt like this totally mystical, untouchable thing. How could you possibly study something so fleeting, so personal, so utterly bizarre sometimes? It seemed like trying to catch smoke. But thanks to some clever scientists and amazing technology, we're actually getting pretty good at figuring out the brain's secret life at night. It turns out your brain isn't just chilling out when you're asleep. Oh no, especially during those vivid, story-like dreams we talked about, the ones that mostly happen in REM sleep. Your brain is practically throwing a party. Different parts light up. Chemical messengers are zipping around like crazy, and it's all working together in a complex dance to create those wild experiences you have before your alarm even thinks about going off. We're starting to map out the neural circuits and chemical cocktails that give rise to our nightly adventures, moving from ancient interpretations to a truly scientific understanding of this fascinating phenomenon. So let's start with the main players, the brain regions that really get into the action during a dream. Imagine your brain as a super complex orchestra, with different sections playing different tunes. When you're awake, all the sections are playing together in harmony, keeping you focused, logical, and fully aware of the world around you. But when you slip into REM sleep and start dreaming, something really interesting happens. Some sections quiet right down, while others crank up the volume and start playing entirely new melodies, leading to that unique, often surreal dream experience. It's like the conductor has temporarily handed over the baton to a more avant-garde composer. One of the biggest and most noticeable changes happens right up front, in the prefrontal cortex. Think of this as your brain's CEO, your logical boss, the part that handles all the serious stuff like planning, making smart decisions, keeping your impulses in check, and basically keeping you grounded in reality. It's the part that says, hold on, that doesn't make sense. Well, during REM sleep, this CEO takes a long, well-deserved coffee break, maybe even a vacation. Its activity significantly drops, almost as if it's gone offline. And guess what happens when the boss isn't around to supervise? Things get a little unstructured, to say the least. This deactivation of the prefrontal cortex is a huge reason why dreams can be so utterly bizarre, illogical, and frankly just plain weird. Suddenly a talking cat isn't just possible, it's totally normal. You can fly without wings, your childhood home might morph into a spaceship, and your grandma might be a superhero giving financial advice, and you don't even bat an eye. There's no critical thinking, no wait, that doesn't make sense alarm going off. This also explains why you usually don't realize you're actually dreaming. Unless you're lucid dreaming, but we'll definitely get to that later. Your brain's built-in reality checker is just offline, taking a snooze itself. Without that logical filter, your dream world can be anything, and your dreaming self just accepts it as perfectly normal. It's like your brain is telling a story without an editor, letting its imagination run wild without any rules, constraints, or common sense. This lack of executive oversight also contributes to why dream narratives can jump around so much, with sudden jarring scene changes or bizarre character transformations. Your brain isn't trying to build a coherent linear plot, it's just firing off associations and images, and without the prefrontal cortex to organize them, they can come out in a wonderfully chaotic yet often compelling jumble. So next time you have a dream where you're suddenly in your childhood home, but it's also a spaceship, and your dog is wearing a tiny hat and giving financial advice, you can totally thank your sleepy prefrontal cortex for taking a well-deserved nap. It's truly fascinating how the temporary suspension of this critical brain region unleashes such creative, albeit illogical, narratives. Now, while the logical part of your brain is taking a breather, other parts are getting super active, especially the ones involved in emotions and memories. We're talking about the limbic system, which is a collection of brain structures deep within your brain, and it includes key players like the amygdala and the hippocampus. The amygdala is like your brain's emotional powerhouse, especially for intense feelings like fear, anxiety, and even pure joy or excitement. During REM sleep, the amygdala is often buzzing with activity, sometimes even more active than when you're awake. This heightened activity is why dreams can feel so incredibly emotional, sometimes overwhelmingly so, whether it's a terrifying nightmare where you're being chased, or an incredibly happy dream where you're soaring through the sky. Your amygdala is probably working overtime in both scenarios. It's like your brain is processing, and perhaps even trying to regulate all those strong emotions you've experienced during the day, or even deep-seated ones from your past. This emotional processing in dreams might be a way for your brain to vent or integrate difficult feelings in a safe, simulated environment. The hippocampus, on the other hand, is crucial for forming new memories and retrieving old ones. While it's generally less active in REM sleep than during wakefulness, which, ironically, might explain why we forget dreams so easily, it's not actively saving them in the same way. It's still involved in pulling up older, established memories that often get woven into dream narratives. It's like your brain is sifting through its vast library of past experiences, sometimes pulling out seemingly random bits and pieces, a face from your past, a place you visited years ago, a snippet of an old conversation, to incorporate into the dream's story. This intricate interplay between the emotional centers amygdala and memory hubs hippocampus helps explain why dreams often feel so personally relevant and emotionally charged, even when they're utterly nonsensical on the surface. They're tapping into your deepest emotional landscape and your personal history, creating a unique blend that feels intensely real, even if it's not. But where does the dream start? The real command center for kicking off REM sleep, and consequently, most of our vivid dreams, is located deep within your brainstem, specifically in an area called the pons. Think of the pons as the conductor of the entire REM sleep orchestra. It sends out crucial signals that initiate the rapid eye movements you see during REM, and it fires up the visual parts of your brain to create those dream images. And crucially, it's responsible for that amazing muscle atonia, or profound paralysis, that happens during REM. This paralysis is an absolute lifesaver. Seriously, imagine if you could physically act out all your dreams. You'd be flailing around, running from monsters, or trying to fly right out of bed, potentially hurting yourself or others. The pons sends powerful inhibitory signals down your spinal cord, basically telling your voluntary muscles, "Nope, not tonight, folks. Stay put. You're off duty." This protective mechanism ensures you can have all those wild, adventurous, or even terrifying experiences in your head without actually moving a muscle in your body. So, while your brain is busy creating a whole vivid world, your body stays safely tucked in bed, completely still. It's a pretty elegant and essential solution, if you ask me, preventing us from harming ourselves or others during our most vivid nocturnal adventures. And speaking of creating a world, how do we see things in our dreams when our eyes are completely closed and there's no light around? Well, that's thanks to your visual cortex, the part of your brain that processes all visual information. Even though there's no actual light hitting your eyes, the visual cortex becomes super active during REM sleep, almost as active as when you're wide awake and looking at something. It's like it's generating its own internal movie, creating those vivid images, colors, shapes, and entire scenes you experience in your dreams. This internal activation is so strong and realistic that it can feel just as real as seeing something with your eyes open. Similarly, your motor cortex, which usually plans and executes all your voluntary movements, also shows significant activity during dreams. It's like your brain is planning to run, jump, dance, or gesture in your dream, creating the neural commands for those movements, even though those inhibitory signals from the pons keep your actual muscles from doing it. This explains why you might feel like you're moving, running, or struggling to move in a dream, even though your body is completely still in bed. It's the neural blueprint for movement, without the actual physical execution. This internal simulation of sensory and motor experiences is a hallmark of the dreaming brain. Now let's talk about the brain's chemical messengers, the neurotransmitters and neuromodulators. These are like the fine-tuners and volume controls of the brain's activity, influencing everything from your mood to your memory, your alertness, and of course your dreams. During REM sleep, there's a really interesting and very specific shift in the balance of these chemicals that helps create the unique and often bizarre dream state. It's a carefully orchestrated chemical symphony that allows for the dream world to unfold. One of the most important players for REM sleep and dream vividness is acetylcholine, ACH. Levels of acetylcholine are actually high during REM sleep, quite similar to the levels you see when you're awake and alert. ACH is really important for attention, learning, memory, and general cortical arousal, basically keeping your brain's outer layer active. Its high levels during REM are thought to contribute significantly to the vividness, complexity, and hallucinatory quality of our dreams. It's like ACH helps to turn on the dream generator, making those internal images and narratives feel incredibly real and immersive, almost like a waking experience. It's a key ingredient in the recipe for a rich dream world. On the flip side, two other major neurotransmitters, serotonin and norepinephrine, significantly drop their activity during REM sleep. Serotonin is often associated with mood regulation, impulse control, and emotional stability, while norepinephrine is linked to alertness, focus, vigilance, and the fight-or-flight response, essentially keeping you grounded and attentive to external reality. When these levels are low in REM, it's like your brain's critical thinking, self-monitoring, and reality-checking systems are dialed way down, almost to zero. This chemical imbalance contributes directly to the bizarreness and illogical nature of dreams. Without these reality checks, your brain is more prone to making wild, unconstrained connections, ignoring inconsistencies, and creating scenarios that would be impossible in waking life. It also means that the emotional content of dreams can be experienced more rawly, without the usual filters or rationalizations that might occur when you're awake. You feel fear intensely, joy without reservation. This specific chemical cocktail, high ACH and low serotonin, norepinephrine, creates a unique brain state that's perfectly optimized for generating and experiencing dreams. And then there's dopamine. This neurotransmitter is often linked to reward, motivation, pleasure, and goal-directed behavior, but it also plays a significant role in psychosis and unusual thought processes. While its exact role in dreaming is still being fully understood and actively researched, some evidence suggests that dopamine activity might be involved in the more bizarre or psychotic-like elements of dreams, such as delusions or hallucinations. It could also be linked to the feeling of motivation, pursuit, or striving you sometimes experience in dreams, like trying to achieve a goal, solve a puzzle, or escape a threat. The intricate interplay of all these chemicals, their fluctuating levels, and how they interact with different brain regions is incredibly complex, but it's what creates the specific neurochemical environment for your brain to construct those rich and often unforgettable nightly narratives. So we've mostly been talking about REM dreams because they're usually the most vivid, narrative, and memorable, often feeling like a full-blown movie. But guess what? You can also dream during NREM sleep. These NREM dreams are generally quite different from their REM cousins. They tend to be less vivid, less bizarre, and more like regular thinking or problem-solving. If you're woken up from NREM sleep and asked what was going through your mind, you might report sleep thoughts, like you were planning your day, replaying a conversation you had, trying to solve a puzzle, or just mulling over something that happened. The brain activity during NREM dreaming is different too. While the prefrontal cortex is still somewhat less active than during wakefulness, it's not as profoundly shut down as in REM sleep. This might explain why NREM dreams are less bizarre and more coherent, sticking closer to logical thought processes. The limbic system also isn't as hyperactive, so NREM dreams tend to be less emotionally intense, feeling more like cool, rational thought rather than a roller coaster of feelings. These NREM dreams are thought to play a vital role in memory consolidation, especially for facts and events, declarative memories, and possibly in integrating new information into your existing knowledge network. It's like your brain is quietly sorting through the day's events, filing things away, making sense of connections, and reorganizing its internal library, all without all the dramatic flair and hallucinatory vividness of a REM dream. They're the unsung heroes of nocturnal cognition. Now, let's zoom out a bit and think about how all this specific brain activity and chemical shifts translate into the actual features of our dreams. Why are some dreams so incredibly vivid, almost hyper-real, while others are just hazy, quickly fading memories? Why are some so utterly bizarre, defying all logic? And why do we forget most of them so quickly, even the ones that felt so important just moments after waking? The vividness of dreams, especially REM dreams, comes directly from that intense activation of the visual cortex and other sensory areas, combined with those higher acetylcholine levels. Your brain is essentially creating a full-blown multisensory simulation, making the dream feel incredibly real and immersive. It's not just seeing, it's often hearing, feeling, and sometimes even tasting and smelling within the dream world. The bizarreness of dreams, as we touched on, is largely due to the prefrontal cortex taking a break. Without its logical oversight, its ability to inhibit unusual thoughts, and its capacity for reality testing, your brain is free to make wild, illogical connections, combine unrelated elements in impossible ways, and simply ignore the rules of physics or social norms. It's like a creative explosion without any filters, leading to those surreal and often memorable dreamscapes. The emotional intensity of dreams, whether it's overwhelming joy, crushing sadness, or paralyzing terror, directly relates to the heightened activity in your limbic system, particularly the amygdala. Your brain is processing emotions in a very raw, unfiltered way, which can be both exhilarating and terrifying. This intense emotional processing might even serve a therapeutic purpose, helping us to work through difficult feelings in a safe, simulated environment. But here's the kicker, and one of the biggest mysteries: dream amnesia. Why we forget dreams so easily. This is a huge challenge for dream researchers, and frustrating for anyone who wants to remember their amazing or terrifying nightly adventures. One key reason is thought to be the low levels of norepinephrine in the brain during REM sleep. Norepinephrine is super important for encoding new memories into long-term storage, especially for making them sticky. Since its levels are so low during REM, your brain isn't very good at saving the dream experience into your permanent memory files. It's like your brain is running a temporary program that gets wiped clean when you wake up, unless something strong like waking up directly from REM, or a very emotional, impactful dream, helps it stick for a few moments. The sudden shift in brain chemistry upon waking also plays a role. As norepinephrine and serotonin levels rise rapidly, the unique neurochemical environment that supported the dream dissolves, making recall even more difficult. It's a fleeting experience by design, perhaps to prevent us from confusing our dream life with our waking reality. Beyond just creating wild stories, scientists are increasingly convinced that dreaming, especially REM sleep, is super important for brain plasticity. That's your brain's amazing ability to change, adapt, and reorganize itself throughout your life. Dreams might be a crucial part of how your brain processes new information, refines skills, and integrates new experiences into your existing knowledge. Remember the synaptic homeostasis hypothesis, SHY, we chatted about earlier? That idea that sleep helps downscale your brain's synaptic connections, making them more efficient by pruning away less important ones and strengthening important ones. Well, dreams might be part of that very process, helping to reorganize and optimize neural networks. It's like your brain is defragmenting and reorganizing its hard drive, and dreams are the visual and emotional output of that intense background processing. This could be why sleep and dreaming are so vital for learning and memory, helping you consolidate what you learnt during the day and even come up with creative solutions to problems you were pondering while awake. Some theories even suggest that dreams are a way for your brain to simulate different scenarios, acting as a kind of virtual reality training ground, helping you prepare for future challenges, process past events, or even practice social interactions in a safe internal environment. It's all about keeping your brain flexible, efficient, and ready for whatever life throws at it, constantly learning and adapting. Studying dreams is still a huge puzzle though, with many unanswered questions. Because dreams are so subjective and hard to access directly, it's tough to get truly objective data. But new technologies are helping us chip away at these mysteries. Scientists are now using things like fMRI, functional magnetic resonance imaging, to look at brain activity during sleep in incredible detail, even trying to see if they can decode dream content based on specific brain patterns. Imagine being able to see what someone is dreaming about just by looking at their brain activity. There's also fascinating research into targeted memory reactivation, TMR, where specific sounds or smells associated with learning are presented during sleep to see if they can influence memory consolidation or even subtly guide dream content. It's still early days for these advanced techniques, but these tools are giving us unprecedented glimpses into the sleeping, dreaming brain, allowing us to move beyond mere speculation. The more we learn about the brain's complex circuitry and chemical symphony, the closer we get to truly understanding the profound mystery of why we dream and what those nightly adventures really mean for us. It's an incredibly exciting frontier in neuroscience, and the more we unravel, the more we appreciate just how incredibly intricate and amazing our brains are, even when we're completely unconscious. Alright, so we've just had a pretty deep dive into the amazing brain science behind dreaming, right? We've explored how different parts of your brain light up or quiet down, and how those chemical messengers zip around to create the wild, vivid world you experience every night. We saw how your brain's CEO, the prefrontal cortex, takes a break, letting the weirdness flow, and how your emotional centers go into overdrive. It's fascinating stuff how the brain physically makes a dream. But now, let's shift gears a bit. We're going to tackle some of the even bigger, more intriguing questions. What are dreams actually about? Why do we dream what we dream? And perhaps the most mind-boggling question of all, what's the point of it all? Do dreams actually do something for us? Or are they just random, meaningless fireworks in our sleeping brains? For centuries, as we chatted about in Chapter 1, people have been obsessed with what dreams mean. From ancient prophets to modern-day therapists, everyone's had a theory, but science, bless its empirical heart, approaches this question a little differently. Instead of looking for hidden symbols in a Freudian sense, scientists are trying to figure out if there are common themes, patterns, and functions that can be observed and tested. So, let's pull back the curtain on the actual content of dreams, and then explore the leading scientific ideas about their purpose. First off, let's talk about what actually pops up in our dreams. If you've ever tried to keep a dream journal, and seriously, give it a shot, it's wild. You'll notice some pretty common themes and patterns. Even though dreams can be incredibly personal and unique to you, researchers who've collected thousands upon thousands of dream reports from people all over the world have found some recurring elements. For instance, being chased is a super common dream theme. Think about it. Who hasn't had that heart-pounding dream where you're running, but your legs feel like lead, and whatever's behind you just keeps getting closer? This isn't just random. It often reflects feelings of anxiety, stress, or feeling overwhelmed in waking life. It's like your brain is playing out a scenario where you're trying to escape a problem or a difficult situation that you might be avoiding consciously. Maybe you're feeling trapped in a job, or overwhelmed by family responsibilities, or trying to outrun a deadline. The feeling of helplessness or being unable to move quickly in these dreams can really amplify that waking feeling of being stuck or powerless, making the emotional impact even stronger. It's almost as if your subconscious is screaming, "Hey, pay attention to this." Another big one is falling. That sudden lurch, the feeling of plummeting through the air, often leading to a sudden jarring jolt awake. This can be tied to feelings of losing control, insecurity, or a sense of failure in your waking world. Maybe you're feeling unsupported in a relationship, or overwhelmed by a new job where you feel like you're not quite keeping up, or worried about a precarious financial situation. Your brain might translate that feeling of instability and precariousness into a physical sensation of falling. It's a very primal fear, tapping into our deep-seated anxieties about safety and stability. Then there are dreams about flying, which are often exhilarating and empowering, usually reflecting a sense of freedom, achievement, or overcoming significant obstacles. If you're having a flying dream, it might mean you're feeling on top of the world, like you've conquered a challenge, or that you've recently broken free from something that was holding you back. It's the opposite side of the coin from falling, showing a powerful sense of mastery, liberation, and perhaps even a feeling of spiritual or personal growth, soaring above your problems. Dreams about teeth falling out are also surprisingly common and often quite distressing, leaving you with a lingering sense of unease. These can symbolize feelings of vulnerability, a loss of power or control, communication issues, like feeling unable to express yourself effectively, or deep anxiety about your appearance, self-image, or how others perceive you. It's a very visceral image that can tap into deep insecurities about your ability to bite into life or chew through problems. And of course, there are classic anxiety dreams about being naked in public or being unprepared for an important exam. These are practically universal. They often reflect feelings of exposure, extreme vulnerability, shame, or a profound fear of being judged, found inadequate, or failing to meet expectations in your waking life. It's your brain's way of spotlighting those nagging worries about performance, social acceptance, or feeling unprepared for life's challenges. Even dreams about death, whether your own or someone else's, are common and can be quite unsettling. Scientifically, these rarely predict actual death. Instead, they often symbolize major transitions, endings, or new beginnings in your life. The death of an old habit, the end of a significant relationship, the conclusion of a particular phase of life, making way for something entirely new. It's a powerful and often dramatic metaphor for profound change and transformation. Beyond these specific themes, dreams are often characterized by a few general patterns. They tend to be self-centered, meaning you, the dreamer, are almost always the main character, or at least intimately present and experiencing the narrative from your own perspective. They're also highly emotional, as we discussed with the amygdala's role. The emotions you feel in a dream can be incredibly intense, raw, and often linger after you wake up, sometimes coloring your mood for hours. Dreams also frequently feature familiar people and places from your waking life, but often in unfamiliar, distorted, or even fantastical contexts. Your childhood home might suddenly be a grand castle, or your best friend might inexplicably transform into a talking squirrel, offering sage advice. This blending of the familiar with the bizarre is a hallmark of the dream state, creating a unique and often memorable internal reality. So, where does all this rich and varied dream content come from? It's definitely not just random static or meaningless noise. Scientists have a pretty good idea that your dreams are heavily influenced by your waking experiences, what you see, hear, feel, and think during the day. This is often called the day residue hypothesis, a term coined by Freud, but interpreted very differently by modern science. It suggests that recent events, conversations, worries, and even seemingly trivial details from your day can get woven into your dreams. For example, if you spent the day cramming for a big test, you might dream about being in an exam, but perhaps the questions are in a foreign language, or the room is filled with penguins. If you had a tense conversation with someone, you might dream about a conflict, but it could be with a talking animal, or in a surreal landscape. It's rarely a literal replay though. Your brain takes these bits and pieces, the emotional tone, the key characters, the central conflicts, and often distorts, combines, or exaggerates them, creating a new, often symbolic narrative. It's like your brain is trying to process and make sense of the day's input, but it's doing so with its logical filters turned down low, allowing for more creative and less constrained associations. But it's not just recent events. Your dreams also tap into your deeper, more established memories, both recent and long-term. That's why you might dream about people you haven't seen in years, or places from your distant past, or even re-experience childhood emotions. The hippocampus, though less active in REM, still plays a role in retrieving these older memories, and the dreaming brain seems to have a knack for pulling seemingly unrelated memories together in novel ways. This could be part of the brain's ongoing process of integrating new experiences with old knowledge, constantly updating and refining its internal model of the world. Think of it as your brain's way of cross-referencing its entire vast database of experiences, looking for connections and patterns that might not be obvious in waking life. This constant internal dialogue between new and old information is a key aspect of how our brains learn and adapt. And then there's the huge, undeniable influence of emotions. Your emotional state in waking life profoundly impacts your dreams. If you go to bed feeling anxious, stressed, sad, or angry, you're significantly more likely to have dreams that reflect those feelings, often manifesting as nightmares or unsettling scenarios. Conversely, if you're feeling happy, excited, or content, your dreams might be more pleasant, uplifting, and filled with positive experiences. Dreams provide a unique and powerful arena for processing emotions. It's like your brain is giving you a safe, simulated space to re-experience and work through feelings that might have been too overwhelming, complex, or even too subtle to fully deal with during the day. This brings us to a major proposed function of dreams: emotional regulation. Many scientists believe that dreams, particularly REM dreams, play a crucial role in helping us process, integrate, and regulate our emotions. Imagine you've had a particularly stressful day full of worries, frustrations, or interpersonal conflicts. During REM sleep, with that amygdala buzzing intensely and the prefrontal cortex taking a much-needed break, your brain can rerun those emotional experiences, but in a less constrained, more associative, and perhaps less threatening way. This might help to detoxify the emotional charge associated with difficult memories or experiences. For instance, if you've experienced something traumatic, repetitive nightmares are often a common symptom. While incredibly distressing, some theories suggest that these repetitive nightmares are the brain's persistent attempt to process the trauma, gradually reducing its raw emotional intensity over time. It's like a form of internal exposure therapy, but happening automatically and internally while you sleep, allowing the brain to habituate to the fear response in a safe, simulated environment, because remember, you're paralyzed. This doesn't mean nightmares are good or that they always automatically resolve trauma. Often professional help is needed, but it points to a potential adaptive mechanism the brain employs. On the flip side, dreams can also amplify positive emotions, allowing you to savor joyful experiences, reinforce feelings of love and connection, or even practice resilience in challenging dream scenarios. So dreams aren't just a passive byproduct of emotional states. They might actively contribute to our emotional well-being, psychological resilience, and overall mental health. They provide a nightly emotional workout, helping us to cope with the ups and downs, the joys and sorrows of waking life, allowing us to wake up feeling more emotionally balanced, even if we don't remember the specifics of the dream. Beyond emotions, one of the most compelling scientific arguments for the function of dreams revolves around memory consolidation and learning. This is a huge one, and it ties directly into why sleep itself is so vital for cognitive function. We already touched on how NREM sleep is crucial for declarative memories, facts, and events, helping to transfer them from temporary to long-term storage. But REM sleep and dreaming seem to play a unique and complementary role, especially for procedural memories, skills and habits, emotional memories, and integrating new information into our existing knowledge frameworks. Think about it. When you learn something new during the day, whether it's a new language, practicing a musical instrument, mastering a dance move, learning a complex software program, or even just grappling with a challenging academic concept, your brain needs dedicated time to solidify that learning. It's not enough to just experience it. The intricate neural connections associated with that new information need to be strengthened, refined, and integrated into your existing knowledge networks. Sleep provides that crucial window for this behind-the-scenes work. During REM sleep, there's growing evidence that your brain replays neural patterns associated with recent learning experiences. This isn't a conscious replay, of course, but a subconscious reactivation of those specific neural circuits. This replay helps to strengthen the synaptic connections, making the memory more robust, more accessible, and less likely to be forgotten. For example, numerous studies have shown that if you learn a new motor skill, like typing a complex sequence on a keyboard, or learning to navigate a virtual maze, and then get a good night's sleep, your performance on that task will be significantly better the next day than if you were sleep-deprived. This improvement isn't just about physical rest, it's about the brain actively processing, refining, and consolidating the skill during sleep, and dreams might be the subjective, often symbolic experience of this neural optimization and reorganization. Furthermore, dreams might be deeply involved in integrative memory processing. Instead of just replaying individual, isolated memories, dreams seem to combine disparate pieces of information, sometimes from very different experiences or time periods, in novel and unexpected ways. This could be how your brain makes new connections between seemingly unrelated concepts, finds hidden patterns in complex data, and integrates new learning into your broader, pre-existing understanding of the world. It's like your brain is constantly updating and refining its internal map of reality, creating a more comprehensive and interconnected knowledge base, and dreams are the vivid, often bizarre visual manifestation of that dynamic updating process. This leads directly to the exciting idea that dreams can facilitate problem-solving and creativity. How many times have you heard stories of famous scientists, artists, or writers who had a breakthrough idea, a flash of insight, or solved a seemingly intractable problem in a dream? The classic example often cited is the German chemist August Kekulé, who reportedly dreamed of a snake biting its own tail, leading to his monumental discovery of the ring structure of benzene. While these are anecdotal and stories can be embellished, the scientific community is actively exploring the underlying mechanisms that could make such breakthroughs possible. Because the prefrontal cortex is less active and the dreaming brain is making more associative, less constrained connections, remember those filters are down, dreams provide a unique environment for novel combinations of ideas to emerge. Your brain is free to explore possibilities, connect concepts, and generate solutions that it might dismiss as illogical, irrelevant, or too out there during waking hours, when it's constrained by conscious logic and critical evaluation. It's like a wild, uninhibited brainstorming session, without any self-censorship. By connecting seemingly unrelated concepts or memories, dreams can generate new perspectives and insights that can then be consciously recognized and utilized upon waking. So if you're stuck on a tricky problem, sometimes the absolute best thing you can do is literally sleep on it. Your dreaming brain, working its magic in that unconstrained state, might just hand you the solution, or at least a fresh perspective to tackle it. Now, let's consider some more evolutionary hypotheses about the function of dreams, looking at them through the lens of survival and adaptation. One fascinating and increasingly popular idea is the threat simulation theory, TST, proposed by Antti Revonsuo. This theory suggests that dreams, particularly nightmares or dreams involving threats, like being chased, attacked, or facing danger, serve a crucial adaptive evolutionary function. They act as a kind of virtual reality training ground where we can repeatedly simulate threatening situations in a safe, consequence-free environment. Think about our ancient ancestors living in dangerous, unpredictable environments, constantly facing predators, rival tribes, or natural disasters. Practicing escape, confrontation, or avoidance behaviors in dreams, without any real-world physical risk, could have significantly improved their chances of survival when faced with actual threats in waking life. If you frequently dream of being chased, for instance, it might be your brain subconsciously rehearsing escape strategies. If you dream of fighting or defending yourself, it might be practicing self-defense mechanisms. The theory posits that the emotional intensity and vividness of these dreams make the training more effective, embedding the lessons more deeply. While TST is still actively debated and researched, it offers a compelling evolutionary explanation for the prevalence of negative or threatening content in dreams, suggesting they are far from random and are instead a vital part of our survival toolkit. It's like your brain is running a nightly boot camp to keep you sharp and prepared for potential dangers in the real world. Beyond threat simulation, other adaptive hypotheses suggest dreams play roles in a variety of functions. Some propose social rehearsal, where dreams allow us to practice social interactions, navigate complex social dynamics, or even understand the perspectives of others in a simulated environment, refining our social skills. Others suggest emotional calibration, where dreams help fine-tune our emotional responses, ensuring they are appropriate and adaptive for waking life. There's also the idea that dreams simply help in maintaining brain activity during periods of inactivity, preventing sensory deprivation and ensuring the brain remains online and ready to function upon waking. This is especially relevant for parts of the brain that aren't directly involved in basic physiological maintenance during sleep. Some researchers, taking a more parsimonious view, propose that dreams are simply an epiphenomenon, a byproduct of the brain's deeper memory consolidation and learning processes, like the steam coming off a boiling pot. In this view, the dream itself isn't a function, but an observable side effect of a deeper functional process occurring beneath the surface. However, the consistent patterns, emotional intensity, and often narrative quality of dreams suggest they are more than just random neural noise or mere steam. It's also worth noting that the function of dreams might not be a single monolithic thing. It's highly probable that dreams serve multiple functions, varying in importance depending on the individual, their unique experiences, their current emotional state, and even the specific dream itself. A single dream might simultaneously be processing emotions, consolidating memories, simulating a threat, and integrating new information. It's a complex, multi-layered phenomenon, just like the brain itself, and trying to pin it down to one sole purpose might be oversimplifying its incredible versatility. So when we look at the content and function of dreams through a scientific lens, We move far away from fortune-telling and into the fascinating realm of cognitive neuroscience. We see that dreams are not just random noise, they are rich, complex mental experiences that are deeply intertwined with our waking lives. They draw from our daily experiences, our deepest memories, and our most profound emotional states. And far from being meaningless, they appear to play crucial roles in our emotional regulation, memory consolidation, learning, problem-solving, and even our very survival through simulated practice. The scientific journey into understanding the why of dreaming is still ongoing, with new discoveries constantly refining our understanding. But what we've uncovered so far paints a picture of a brain that remains incredibly active, purposeful, and adaptive, even when we're lost in the deepest slumber. It's a testament to the brain's extraordinary capacity for processing, adapting, and creating, even in the quiet, mysterious hours of the night. We've peeled back the layers of sleep itself, figured out how our amazing brains physically cook up those wild dreamscapes, and even explored what dreams might be from processing emotions to helping us learn and even practice for life's challenges. It's truly mind-boggling how much goes on when we're just lying there, seemingly doing nothing. But now it's time to venture into a slightly different, perhaps a bit darker but equally fascinating territory. What happens when the dream machinery goes a little wonky? What about those times when our nightly adventures turn terrifying, or when our bodies don't quite get the memo to stay still? And on the flip side, can we actually control our dreams, or even use science to engineer them? This chapter is all about the disturbances, the disorders, and the truly altered states of dreaming. It's where the science of dreams meets the challenges of the human experience, and where we discover even more about the intricate, delicate balance of our sleeping minds. Let's start with something many of us have experienced: nightmares. Oh, those dreaded, vivid, terrifying dreams that jolt you awake, heart-pounding, sometimes with a scream caught in your throat, and a lingering sense of dread. Nightmares are intensely disturbing dreams that typically occur during REM sleep, especially in the latter half of the night, when REM periods are longer and more intense. They're characterized by their vividness, their strong negative emotional content, fear, anxiety, sadness, anger, disgust, and the fact that you almost always remember them in detail upon waking. You can usually recall the plot, the characters, and the overwhelming feeling of terror or helplessness. Common themes include being chased, falling, being attacked, losing loved ones, failing spectacularly, or being trapped. It's like your brain is running a horror movie and you're the unwilling star. So why do we get them? Well, nightmares aren't just random bad dreams. They're often linked to stress, anxiety, trauma, and certain medications or illnesses. If you're going through a particularly stressful period in your waking life, maybe a tough deadline at work, relationship troubles, or financial worries, your brain might be trying to process that stress during sleep, and it can manifest as a nightmare. It's like your emotional processing system is overloaded. For individuals who have experienced trauma, especially something like post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD), recurrent nightmares are a hallmark symptom. These nightmares often replay aspects of the traumatic event, sometimes literally, sometimes symbolically, and they can be incredibly debilitating, making it difficult to get restful sleep. The brain regions involved in nightmares are often the same ones that are hyperactive in general anxiety. The amygdala, that emotional powerhouse we talked about, goes into overdrive, flooding the dream with fear. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, your logical CEO, is still largely offline, so there's no rational filter to tell you, hey, this isn't real, it's just a dream. This combination creates that intense, unfiltered terror. Certain medications, like some antidepressants, especially SSRIs, blood pressure medications, beta blockers, and even some anti-malaria drugs, can also increase the frequency and vividness of nightmares as a side effect, by altering the balance of neurotransmitters in the brain that regulate REM sleep. Illnesses accompanied by fever can also trigger nightmares, possibly due to increased brain activity or discomfort. While distressing, some theories suggest nightmares are the brain's attempt to process and eventually detoxify overwhelming emotional experiences, gradually reducing their intensity over time, almost like a form of internal exposure therapy. But for many, they are simply a source of profound distress and sleep disruption. Now, let's talk about something that often gets confused with nightmares but is actually quite different: night terrors, also known as pavor nocturnus. Unlike nightmares, which are dreams, night terrors are a type of parasomnia, an undesirable event that accompanies sleep, that occurs during deep NREM sleep, specifically NREM stage 3, that really deep restorative sleep. This is a crucial distinction. When someone experiences a night terror, they might suddenly sit upright in bed, scream, thrash around, have wide-open eyes with a terrified expression, rapid breathing, and a racing heart. They might even appear to be awake, but they are actually still deeply asleep, and extremely difficult to awaken or comfort. The key difference from a nightmare? The person typically has no memory of the event the next morning, or at best only a very fragmented, non-narrative image of fear. They weren't dreaming in the way we usually think of it. It's more like a sudden intense physiological arousal from deep sleep, accompanied by an overwhelming feeling of terror, without a coherent dream plot. Night terrors are much more common in children, often between the ages of 3 and 12, though they can occur in adults, sometimes triggered by stress, sleep deprivation, or fever. The brain isn't generating a story, it's experiencing a sudden intense fear response while still in a very deep, non-conscious state. It's like the brain's fear circuitry is misfiring during the transition out of deep sleep, rather than during a dream narrative. The physical manifestations are much more pronounced than with nightmares, because the muscle autonia of REM sleep isn't present in NREM sleep, so the body is free to move. It can be quite alarming for parents or partners to witness, but the individual experiencing it is generally unaware. Okay, let's pivot to a much more exciting, and perhaps even empowering, altered state of dreaming, lucid dreaming. Imagine this. You're in the middle of a dream, maybe you're flying or talking to a giant rabbit, and suddenly it clicks. Wait a minute, this isn't real, I'm dreaming. That moment of self-awareness within a dream is what defines lucid dreaming. It's a hybrid state, a fascinating blend of REM sleep and elements of waking consciousness. Once you become lucid, you can often gain a degree of control over the dream environment, its characters, and the narrative itself. You can choose to fly, conjure objects, change the scenery, or even talk to your dream characters and ask them questions. It's like becoming the director of your own internal movie. How does this happen in the brain? Well, remember how we said the prefrontal cortex, your brain's CEO, largely deactivates during normal REM sleep, leading to bizarreness and a lack of self-awareness. In lucid dreaming, studies using EEG and fMRI have shown a reactivation of certain areas of the prefrontal cortex, particularly the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, which is involved in self-awareness, metacognition, thinking about your own thoughts, and executive control. It's like the CEO briefly wakes up and says, "Aha, I'm in charge here." This increased frontal lobe activity allows for critical thinking and insight within the dream. There's also often increased gamma wave activity, a high-frequency brainwave pattern associated with conscious awareness and insight during lucid dreaming. For some people, lucid dreams happen spontaneously, perhaps after a particularly vivid or bizarre non-lucid dream. For others, it's a skill that can be learned and practiced through various techniques, such as reality testing, regularly asking yourself, "Am I dreaming?" during the day, or mild, mmetic induction of lucid dreams, which involves waking up during REM sleep and intending to become lucid. The potential applications of lucid dreaming are pretty amazing. It's being explored as a therapy for recurrent nightmares, by allowing the dreamer to confront or change the dream narrative, a way to practice skills like public speaking or sports moves in a safe, simulated environment, and a tool for enhancing creativity and problem-solving. Imagine being able to consciously brainstorm solutions or create art in a limitless dream world. It's a powerful testament to the brain's incredible capacity for consciousness, even during sleep. Now, let's move into some more serious territory. Sleep disorders that directly affect dreams. These aren't just one-off disturbances, they're chronic conditions that profoundly impact an individual's sleep and dream life, often with significant health implications. One of the most striking is REM sleep behavior disorder, RBD. Remember how we talked about the pons sending out those inhibitory signals to paralyze your muscles during REM sleep? Well, in RBD, that crucial mechanism fails. The muscle atonia is absent or incomplete, meaning individuals with RBD can physically act out their vivid, often violent dreams. They might punch, kick, shout, run, or flail in their sleep, sometimes injuring themselves or their bed partners. Imagine dreaming you're fighting off an attacker, and your body is actually throwing punches. It's a dangerous condition, and it's not just about the immediate risk of injury. RBD is now recognized as a strong and early indicator of certain neurodegenerative diseases, particularly Parkinson's disease and Lewy body dementia. In fact, up to 80–90% of individuals diagnosed with RBD will eventually develop one of these conditions, often years or even decades later. This makes RBD a critical area of research for early detection and intervention in these devastating neurological disorders. The neurological basis of RBD points to a dysfunction in the brainstem areas, specifically the pons and surrounding regions, that are responsible for generating REM sleep and its associated muscle paralysis. It's like the conductor of the REM orchestra has lost control of the muscle section. Then there's narcolepsy, a chronic neurological condition that affects the brain's ability to control sleep-wake cycles. People with narcolepsy experience overwhelming daytime sleepiness, often falling asleep suddenly and uncontrollably, sleep attacks, even in the middle of activities. But what's really interesting for our discussion on dreams are its dream-related symptoms. Individuals with narcolepsy often experience incredibly vivid and sometimes terrifying hypnagogic hallucinations as they fall asleep, and hypnopompic hallucinations as they wake up. These aren't just fleeting images. They can be full-blown, multisensory experiences, like seeing intruders in the room, hearing voices, or feeling presences, often accompanied by intense fear. This happens because they transition directly into REM sleep from wakefulness, or vice versa, blurring the lines between waking and dreaming. Another common symptom is sleep paralysis, where they wake up but are temporarily unable to move or speak, often accompanied by those vivid hallucinations. It's a terrifying experience, feeling fully conscious but completely helpless. The underlying neurobiology of narcolepsy involves a deficiency in a neurotransmitter called orexin, also known as hypocretin, which is crucial for maintaining wakefulness and regulating REM sleep. Without enough orexin, the brain struggles to keep you awake and can inappropriately enter REM sleep at any time, leading to these dreamlike intrusions into wakefulness. We can also briefly touch on sleep apnea, a common disorder where breathing repeatedly stops and starts during sleep. While not directly a dream disorder, it can profoundly impact dream experience. The repeated awakenings caused by oxygen deprivation and the struggle to breathe can lead to highly fragmented sleep, preventing the brain from completing full restorative sleep cycles. This fragmentation can result in less vivid dreams or, paradoxically, an increase in nightmares, possibly due to the stress of oxygen deprivation or the brain's attempt to process the feeling of suffocation. When the brain is constantly being roused from sleep, it doesn't get the uninterrupted time it needs for proper dream processing. And let's not forget insomnia, the persistent difficulty falling or staying asleep. While insomnia itself isn't a dream disorder, the chronic lack of sleep and the associated anxiety can significantly influence dream content. Insomniacs often report more anxious, stressful, or fragmented dreams, reflecting their waking worries about sleep and their overall heightened state of arousal. The brain, being unable to achieve deep, restorative sleep consistently, may struggle to process emotions and consolidate memories effectively, leading to a more agitated and less coherent dream landscape. It's a vicious cycle where the anxiety about not sleeping can fuel restless, anxious dreams, further disrupting sleep. Beyond inherent sleep disorders, our dreams can also be profoundly affected by what we put into our bodies, specifically pharmacology and other substances. It's pretty amazing how different chemicals can tweak the intricate machinery of our dreaming brains. Let's start with common medications. Antidepressants, especially the widely prescribed selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, SSRIs, are notorious for significantly altering dream content. Many people starting or withdrawing from SSRIs report incredibly vivid, bizarre, or even disturbing dreams and nightmares. This is because SSRIs primarily work by increasing serotonin levels in the brain. While serotonin generally suppresses REM sleep, the complex ways SSRIs interact with the serotonin system can paradoxically lead to more intense REM periods, or REM rebound, when discontinuing the medication, resulting in these heightened dream experiences. It's like the brain's dream generator gets a jolt, leading to more memorable and often unsettling narratives. Patients often describe dreams that are more colorful, more emotionally charged, and just plain weirder than their usual dreams. Then there are beta blockers, medications commonly prescribed for heart conditions, high blood pressure, and even anxiety. A well-known side effect of beta blockers is an increase in vivid and sometimes disturbing dreams or nightmares. These drugs work by blocking the effects of adrenaline, epinephrine, and noradrenaline, norepinephrine, those fight-or-flight hormones. Since norepinephrine levels typically drop during REM sleep, and beta blockers further reduce its influence, this might create an even more permissive environment for intense dream generation, potentially leading to more vivid and emotionally charged dreams, as the brain's usual dampening mechanisms are further reduced. Other classes of drugs also have their effects. Sedatives and hypnotics, like benzodiazepines or Z-drugs used for insomnia, generally suppress REM sleep. While they might help you fall asleep, they can reduce the amount of time you spend in that crucial dreaming stage. If you suddenly stop taking them, you might experience a significant REM rebound, leading to an explosion of vivid and often intense dreams or nightmares as your brain tries to catch up on lost REM sleep. Stimulants, on the other hand, often reduce total sleep time and REM sleep, leading to similar rebound effects when their use is discontinued. Even over-the-counter cold and allergy medications containing antihistamines can sometimes cause drowsiness and alter dream content due to their effects on brain chemistry. And what about illicit substances or recreational drugs? Their impact on dreams can be quite profound. Alcohol, for instance, initially acts as a sedative, helping some people fall asleep. However, it significantly suppresses REM sleep in the first half of the night. As the alcohol is metabolized later in the night, the brain often experiences a REM rebound, leading to increased, often vivid and disturbing dreams and nightmares in the latter half of the sleep cycle. This is a common complaint among heavy drinkers or those withdrawing from alcohol. Cannabis, marijuana, also tends to suppress REM sleep. Regular users often report very few dreams or no dream recall. Similar to alcohol, cessation of cannabis use can lead to a powerful REM rebound, resulting in extremely vivid, intense, and sometimes disturbing dreams for several nights or even weeks. This rebound effect is a clear demonstration of the brain's biological need for REM sleep and its associated dreaming. Psychedelics like LSD or psilocybin, while not typically used for sleep, are known to induce profound dreamlike states while awake, blurring the lines between conscious reality and internal hallucination. This highlights their powerful effects on brain serotonin systems, which are also involved in regulating REM sleep and dream content. Understanding how these substances interact with brain chemistry provides valuable insights into the neural underpinnings of dreaming itself. Finally, let's talk about the cutting edge, the exciting, and sometimes a bit sci-fi realm of dream engineering and future directions. This is where scientists are actively exploring whether we can intentionally influence, manipulate, or even design our dreams for specific purposes. It sounds like something out of a movie, but the science is slowly catching up. One fascinating area is targeted dream incubation. This involves presenting specific external stimuli, like sounds, smells, or even verbal cues, during particular sleep stages to influence dream content. For example, researchers might play a specific sound associated with a memory or a learning task during NREM or REM sleep to see if it enhances memory consolidation or causes that memory to appear in a dream. Studies have shown that presenting a specific smell, like roses during NREM sleep, can improve memory for information learned before sleep. Similarly, playing specific auditory cues associated with a learning task can reactivate those memories during sleep, leading to better recall the next day. The idea is to subtly nudge the dreaming brain towards processing specific information or themes. This isn't about controlling the entire dream narrative, but about guiding its content towards a desired outcome, whether it's enhancing learning, processing emotions, or even fostering creativity. Imagine a future where you could program your dreams to help you study for a test or work through a creative block. Another exciting development is the rise of wearable technology and advanced dream tracking. Beyond traditional PSG in a lab, consumer-grade sleep trackers are becoming more sophisticated, estimating sleep stages and sometimes even attempting to detect REM sleep. While these are not as precise as lab equipment, they're paving the way for more accessible dream research. Some devices are even being developed with the explicit aim of inducing lucid dreams, using subtle light or sound cues during detected REM sleep to signal to the dreamer that they are dreaming. The idea is to provide a gentle nudge without waking them up completely. This technology is still in its infancy, but it opens up possibilities for individuals to explore and potentially control their own dream experiences outside of a research lab. Researchers are also exploring ways to use brain imaging techniques like fMRI to potentially decode dream content, trying to reconstruct what someone is seeing or experiencing in their dream based on their brain activity. This is extremely complex and still largely theoretical, but it represents the ultimate frontier in objectively understanding the subjective world of dreams. The implications of understanding and potentially manipulating dreams are huge, especially for therapeutic applications. For individuals suffering from chronic nightmares, particularly those with PTSD, techniques like imagery rehearsal therapy, IRT, which involves consciously rewriting the nightmare narrative while awake and rehearsing the new positive ending, can be incredibly effective. Lucid dreaming, as we discussed, also holds promise as a therapeutic tool, allowing individuals to confront or change the terrifying elements of their nightmares from within the dream itself. Imagine being able to turn a chasing monster into a friendly companion. For other mental health conditions like anxiety or depression, understanding dream content might provide insights into underlying emotional processing, and future interventions might even target specific dream patterns to promote emotional well-being. The ability to enhance memory consolidation or foster creativity through dream engineering could also have profound impacts on education, skill acquisition, and artistic endeavors. It's a field brimming with potential, offering new avenues for healing, learning, and self-discovery. In conclusion, The world of dream disturbances, disorders, and altered states is a powerful testament to the complexity and delicate balance of our sleeping brains. From the terrifying grip of nightmares and night terrors, to the fascinating self-awareness of lucid dreaming, and the profound impact of neurological conditions like RBD and narcolepsy, each phenomenon offers unique insights into the brain's dream-generating machinery. Furthermore, the significant influence of medications and substances highlights the intricate neurochemical dance that underpins our nocturnal experiences. As science continues to advance, particularly with emerging technologies in dream engineering, we are gaining unprecedented abilities to not only understand but potentially even shape our dreams. This journey into the disrupted and altered dream world not only deepens our scientific knowledge, but also opens up exciting new possibilities for therapeutic interventions, enhancing human potential and ultimately a more profound understanding of consciousness itself. It underscores just how vital healthy sleep is, not just for our waking lives, but for the rich, mysterious, and often challenging landscapes of our dreams. Wow, what a ride it's been so far. We've journeyed through the intricate stages of sleep, peeked into the bustling brain regions and chemical cocktails that whip up our dreams, explored what those nightly narratives might actually be for, and even delved into the sometimes wild, sometimes scary world of dream disturbances and altered states. It's truly incredible how much science has uncovered about this mysterious third of our lives. We've gone from ancient prophecies to detailed brain scans, and it feels like we've learned a ton. But here's the thing about science, especially when it comes to something as complex as the human mind. For every question we answer, about 10 new ones pop up. And when it comes to dreaming, oh boy, are there some big, juicy, mind-bending questions still hanging out there. So as we wrap up our scientific exploration of dreaming, it's only fitting that we turn our gaze to the horizon. This final chapter isn't about definitive answers. It's about acknowledging the vast unknowns, the fascinating puzzles that still stump even the smartest scientists, and the exciting directions that dream research is heading in. We're going to talk about the really deep philosophical stuff, like what dreams tell us about consciousness itself, and the more practical challenges, like why we forget most of our dreams. We'll look at how dreams change as we get older, how cutting-edge tech like AI might revolutionize our understanding, and even touch on some ethical considerations that come with peeking into, or even trying to manipulate the dream world. It's a journey into the future of dream science, a realm of speculation, ongoing discovery, and endless wonder. Let's kick things off with one of the biggest, most profound questions in all of neuroscience and philosophy, a question that dreams bring into sharp focus. The hard problem of consciousness and dreaming. You see, we can map brain activity, we can measure neurotransmitter levels, we can even predict to some extent when someone is dreaming and what general themes might appear. But here's what we can't do: explain how all that electrical and chemical activity in your brain actually creates the subjective, felt experience of a dream. How do those neurons firing away translate into the vivid sensation of flying, the overwhelming fear of being chased, the taste of a dream meal, or the unique feeling of being you within that dream? This is the hard problem of consciousness, bridging the gap between physical brain processes and subjective experience. Dreams are like a perfect, intense laboratory for this problem, because they are pure, unadulterated subjective experience, happening without any direct external input. When you're dreaming, your brain is essentially creating an entire reality from scratch. Sights, sounds, emotions, narratives, all internally generated. So, if we can't fully explain how waking consciousness arises from the brain, how much more perplexing is it to explain how this other form of consciousness, this dream consciousness, emerges? What is it like to be a dreaming brain? Is dream consciousness fundamentally different from waking consciousness, or is it just a slightly altered version? Some theories suggest that dream consciousness is a more primitive, less organized form, lacking the executive control and reality testing of waking life. Others argue that it's a distinct state, equally complex in its own right, just operating under different rules. The fact that we can have lucid dreams where we become aware of dreaming adds another layer of complexity. How does that sudden spark of metacognition, thinking about your own thoughts, ignite within the dream state? It suggests that the capacity for self-awareness is always there, even in sleep, just waiting for the right neural conditions to emerge. Understanding dream consciousness might just be the key to unlocking the larger mystery of consciousness itself, but it's a mountain that scientists are still only beginning to climb. It forces us to confront the very nature of subjective experience and how it arises from the physical brain, a challenge that continues to push the boundaries of our understanding. Okay, let's move to a problem that's perhaps a bit more relatable, and certainly more frustrating for most of us. The mystery of why we forget dreams. Think about it. You wake up from an incredibly vivid, emotional and detailed dream. For a few seconds it's all there. The plot, the characters, the feelings. But then almost like sand slipping through your fingers, it just vanishes. Within minutes, often within seconds, all that rich experience is gone, leaving behind only a vague impression or nothing at all. Why is our brain so incredibly bad at remembering its own nightly creations? This phenomenon, known as dream amnesia, is a major hurdle for dream research, as scientists rely heavily on dream reports. We touched on some ideas in Chapter 2, primarily the role of neurotransmitters. During REM sleep, levels of norepinephrine, a neurotransmitter crucial for memory encoding and alertness, and serotonin, involved in memory consolidation and mood, are significantly low. It's like your brain's save button isn't fully engaged. Without sufficient norepinephrine, the neural circuits responsible for forming new, lasting memories aren't firing optimally. The brain is busy creating the dream, but it's not effectively recording it for later retrieval. Think of it like a computer running a program in RAM without saving it to the hard drive long-term memory. When the program closes, you wake up, the data is lost. But it's more complex than just low neurotransmitter levels. The sudden dramatic shift in brain chemistry upon waking also plays a huge role. As you transition from sleep to wakefulness, norepinephrine and serotonin levels rapidly rise, and acetylcholine, which was high during REM, drops. This abrupt change fundamentally alters the brain's state, making it difficult to access memories formed in that very different, dream-specific neurochemical environment. It's like trying to read a file created in one operating system using a completely different one. The formats just don't match up easily. Furthermore, the bizarre, illogical and fragmented nature of many dreams might also contribute to their forgettability. Our waking memory systems are designed to encode coherent, logical narratives. Dreams often defy these rules, making them harder to categorize and store effectively. It's hard to file away something that doesn't quite fit into any existing mental folder. There's also the fascinating idea that dream amnesia might actually be adaptive. Perhaps forgetting most of our dreams is a good thing, preventing us from confusing our dream life with our waking reality. Imagine if you remembered every single bizarre, terrifying, or emotionally charged dream in vivid detail, and they felt just as real as your waking memories. It could lead to significant confusion, distress, and even psychosis. So perhaps dream amnesia is a protective mechanism, a built-in reset button that allows us to fully engage with waking life without the constant intrusion of our nocturnal adventures. However, for those who wish to remember their dreams, for personal insight, creative inspiration, or therapeutic reasons, techniques like keeping a dream journal immediately upon waking, setting intentions to remember dreams before sleep, and practicing mindfulness can sometimes improve recall, suggesting that while forgetting is common, it's not always absolute. The exact mechanisms of dream amnesia remain a hot topic of research, with scientists exploring everything from specific brain oscillations during sleep to the role of sleep spindles and slow waves in memory transfer. Next up, let's consider how dreams and sleep itself change throughout our lives. It's not a static process. Our nightly adventures evolve as we do. This is the fascinating field of dreaming across the lifespan. Think about infants and young children. They spend a huge amount of time in REM sleep, much more proportionally than adults. Newborns can spend up to 50% of their sleep in REM. Why so much? One prominent theory is that this extensive REM sleep and the associated brain activity is crucial for brain development and maturation. During infancy, the brain is undergoing an explosion of neural connections, synaptogenesis, and organization. REM sleep might provide the necessary internal stimulation for these processes, helping to build and refine the complex neural networks that underpin cognitive abilities, language acquisition, and motor skills. It's like the brain is running its own internal simulations to practice and solidify its wiring. While we can't ask infants what they're dreaming, the sheer amount of REM suggests a vital developmental role. As we move into childhood and adolescence, the proportion of REM sleep gradually decreases, approaching adult levels. However, dream content continues to evolve. Children's dreams are often simpler, more literal, and less complex than adult dreams. As cognitive abilities develop, dreams become more narrative, more abstract, and incorporate more complex emotions and social interactions. Adolescence, a period of immense emotional and social change, often sees an increase in vivid, sometimes intense or anxious dreams, reflecting the tumultuous waking experiences of identity formation, peer relationships, and future worries. Then we reach adulthood, where sleep architecture and dream patterns generally stabilize. However, even within adulthood, individual variations are vast, influenced by stress, lifestyle, health, and psychological factors. Dream frequency and vividness can fluctuate significantly based on these factors. Finally, in older adulthood, sleep architecture undergoes further significant changes. There's often a decrease in total sleep time, a reduction in the amount of deep NREM stage 3 sleep, and a fragmentation of sleep, more awakenings. The proportion of REM sleep might also slightly decrease, or become more fragmented. These changes can impact dream recall and content. Older adults may report less vivid dreams or less frequent dream recall. However, some studies suggest that dream content in older adults can become more reflective, incorporating life reviews or focusing on themes of legacy and relationships. Sleep disorders, like sleep apnea and RBD, also become more prevalent with age, further impacting dream experience. Understanding these lifespan changes is crucial for addressing age-related sleep problems and for gaining a more holistic view of the dynamic nature of dreaming. It also highlights how intimately connected our sleep and dream lives are to our overall development and aging processes. Now, let's talk about something truly revolutionary that's impacting every field of science, including dream research. The role of artificial intelligence and big data. These powerful tools are changing the game, allowing scientists to analyze vast amounts of information and uncover patterns that were previously impossible to detect. Think about dream reports. For decades, researchers painstakingly collected dream journals, transcribed them, and manually coded themes and content. It was slow, laborious work. But with AI, particularly natural language processing (NLP), researchers can now analyze millions of dream reports from online databases, forums, and research studies. NLP algorithms can automatically identify recurring themes, emotional tones, character types, and narrative structures across enormous datasets, revealing subtle patterns that might escape human analysis. For example, AI could help confirm or refute the universality of certain dream themes like being chased or falling across different cultures and demographics. It can also track how dream content changes in response to global events, social trends, or even seasonal variations. This big data approach to dream content analysis is providing unprecedented insights into the collective unconscious, if you will, or at least the collective dreaming experience of humanity. Beyond analyzing existing data, AI is also being used in more cutting-edge ways. Remember how we talked about potentially decoding dream content from brain activity? This is where machine learning, a subset of AI, comes in. Researchers are experimenting with showing participants images while they're awake and recording their brain activity using fMRI. Then, during sleep, they try to match the brain activity patterns during dreaming to the patterns observed during wakefulness, in an attempt to reconstruct what the person might be seeing in their dream. While still in its very early stages and highly experimental, the goal is to build AI models that can translate complex brain signals into interpretable dream content. Imagine being able to visualize someone's dream in real time. This would revolutionize our ability to objectively study dreams, moving beyond subjective reports to direct neural correlates. It could help us understand the visual language of the brain during sleep, and potentially even help individuals with communication disorders share their internal experiences. AI is also being explored for its potential in dream generation and simulation. While this sounds like pure sci-fi, researchers are using AI to create dreamlike imagery and narratives, sometimes by feeding the AI vast amounts of dream reports or even brain activity data. This isn't about creating actual dreams in a human brain yet, but about building computational models that can mimic the bizarre, associative, and narrative qualities of dreams. By understanding how AI can generate such content, we might gain insights into the underlying algorithms or processes that our own brains use to create dreams. It's a way of reverse engineering the dream process. The combination of AI and big data is opening up entirely new avenues for dream research, allowing us to ask bigger questions and analyze more complex data than ever before, promising a future where our understanding of dreams could expand exponentially. With all this talk of peeking into dreams, influencing them, and even potentially decoding them, it's absolutely crucial to pause and consider the ethical considerations in dream research. As our scientific capabilities advance, so too do the ethical responsibilities that come with them. This is not just theoretical, it's about respecting privacy, autonomy, and the very nature of human experience. The most immediate ethical concern revolves around privacy and consent. If we develop technologies that can accurately read or decode dream content from brain activity, what are the implications? Dreams are arguably the most private realm of human experience, often containing raw emotions, unfiltered thoughts, and deeply personal narratives. Who would have access to this information? Under what circumstances would it be permissible to record or analyze someone's dreams without their explicit, informed consent? The potential for misuse, from commercial exploitation, imagine targeted advertising based on your dream fears, to surveillance, is immense. Establishing strict ethical guidelines and legal frameworks before such technologies become widespread is paramount. We need to ensure that the privacy of our inner lives is protected, just as much as our physical and digital privacy. Then there's the ethical dimension of dream manipulation or engineering. If we can develop reliable methods to influence dream content, whether to enhance learning, reduce nightmares, or foster creativity, who decides what kind of dreams are good or desirable? What are the potential unintended consequences of altering natural dream processes? Could it lead to a loss of the very functions that dreams naturally serve? For instance, if nightmares are a way for the brain to process trauma, would suppressing them entirely prevent that necessary emotional work? There's a fine line between therapeutic intervention and potentially interfering with a fundamental biological process. The concept of designer dreams raises questions about autonomy and authenticity. Should individuals be able to choose their dream experiences? And what are the psychological implications of living in a world where our internal narratives can be externally influenced? Furthermore, research involving vulnerable populations, e.g. children, individuals with neurological disorders, requires even more stringent ethical oversight. How do we ensure truly informed consent when dealing with altered states of consciousness or conditions that might impair judgment? The potential for psychological distress from research interventions must also be carefully weighed against the potential benefits. Scientists are acutely aware of these challenges and are actively engaged in discussions to develop robust ethical frameworks for future dream research, emphasizing transparency, participant well-being, and the responsible development of new technologies. It's a delicate balance between pushing the boundaries of knowledge and respecting the profound sanctity of the human mind. Finally, let's cast our gaze beyond the known, speculations and future research directions. The field of dream science is still relatively young, and the unanswered questions far outnumber the definitive answers. This is what makes it such an exciting frontier. One of the biggest ongoing questions is the precise relationship between REM sleep and dreaming. While REM is strongly associated with vivid dreams, we know dreaming can occur in NREM sleep too. What are the fundamental differences in brain activity and subjective experience between REM and NREM dreams? Are there distinct functions for each? And what about non-dreaming sleep? What is the brain doing during those periods when we're asleep but not consciously experiencing a dream? Is it simply resting, or is there a wealth of unconscious processing occurring that we just don't have access to? Another fascinating area is exploring dreaming in animals. While we can't ask animals what they dream, many species exhibit REM sleep, often called paradoxical sleep in animals due to the muscle atonia and active brain. What are animals dreaming about? Are their dreams similar to ours, perhaps processing their daily foraging, social interactions, or predator avoidance? Studies on rats have shown that during sleep, their brains replay patterns of activity associated with recent maze navigation, suggesting they might be dreaming about their daily explorations. Understanding animal dreams could provide invaluable comparative insights into the evolutionary origins and fundamental functions of dreaming across species. The role of dreams in mental health and well-being will continue to be a major focus. Can specific dream patterns serve as early biomarkers for mental health conditions? Can dream interventions be integrated more effectively into therapeutic practices? The potential for using dreams as a window into the subconscious mind, not in a Freudian symbolic sense, but in terms of processing emotional states and cognitive patterns, is immense. The future will also likely see an explosion in personalized dream analysis. As wearable tech becomes more sophisticated and AI algorithms improve, we might see tools that can analyze an individual's unique sleep and dream patterns over time, providing personalized insights into their mental state, stress levels, or even creative potential. This could lead to highly tailored interventions for sleep problems or mental health challenges. Imagine an app that learns your dream patterns and provides personalized tips for improving your sleep quality or fostering more positive dreams. Ultimately, the science of dreaming is a journey into the very heart of consciousness. It's about understanding how our brains construct reality, both when we're awake and when we're asleep. It's about the interplay of biology, psychology, and subjective experience. As technology advances and our scientific methodologies become more refined, we are poised to unlock even deeper secrets of the dreaming mind. It's a field brimming with potential, promising not only to demystify our nightly adventures, but also to offer profound insights into what it means to be human. The dream world, once the exclusive domain of mystics and poets, is now firmly within the grasp of scientific inquiry, and the journey of discovery is just beginning. What incredible insights await us in the future? Only time and continued research will tell.